never seen something like me.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Walking with Wallfinch. And today I'm joined by the very wonderful Ken Deary, who I think is the only person that has won the BFA award for being the Franchisee of the Year and the Franchisor of the Year. Welcome, Ken.
Well, that's correct, Amrit. You asked if I'd give you a bit of my background in franchising mainly. Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm an accountant by profession, but I've moved out of that. No, being serious, I was lucky enough to be a McDonald's franchisee.
Yeah.
And that was fantastic.
Yeah.
What a great brand, great people, learnt so much. And during my time there, I won the BFA Franchisee of the Year, first McDonald's person to win that, which was very proud of, and won McDonald's Golden Arches Award, top 30 franchisees in the world.
In the world?
Yeah.
Crikey.
Now, I didn't realise how important winning that Franchisee of the Year would be later on in my franchising career.
Yeah.
So, I sold up McDonald's eventually, and at the time I had 4 restaurants, which was the maximum you were allowed then. I believe since then you can buy more, a lot more. I went into the care sector. One, because I really wanted to go into a sector that made a difference, and this sector does make a difference to people's lives.
Yeah.
And I'd seen it through my wife's mother and my mother latterly. So I got an idea of care, and I bought a care home. So I started to understand care in outline. I wasn't an expert, but started to understand it. Then one day, it's a funny thing, I was looking at the industry press in the care home, and right at home, we're looking for a master license holder for the UK, and I'm thinking, I'm getting to understand care. I've got a good understanding of franchising, albeit from the franchisee side.
Yeah.
I could put these two together, so we went from there.
And
I think, I'm not one to boast, but right at home we've done pretty well. You know, in terms of won all the major awards, including BFA Franchisor of the Year.
That is, no easy task. That is really wonderful. So how many locations are you guys?
Now we've got, I think, 76 open, and we'll be up to 82 with the ones in the pipeline.
Congratulations.
We'll be turning over around 75 million network turnover.
Yeah.
That's not
Yes,
but network turnover. So we're not far. We're around 1 million at an office. Some obviously the new ones aren't doing that, but the big ones. And I think it's been very, very successsul.
Yeah. And that is quite amazing, actually, going from, the leap from being a franchisee to a franchisor. I think, having done that similar sort of story myself, I think you are so much more empathetic, and one thing I want to ask...
Great point, yeah.
And what do you think makes a successful franchisee?
The difference, if you're joining an ethical franchising brand that's got proven success, franchisees who have been successful.
Yeah.
The successful franchisee, it's down to the franchisee.
Yeah.
Because everything will be there for you.
Yeah.
The systems, the marketing support, you name it, training support. But, you've seen franchisees who just can't make it. They'd never make it anyway. They wouldn't make it in any business.
Yeah. It's true. It comes down to the person.
It's down here, resilience, grit, making things happen.
Yeah.
Doing the things that they might not be comfortable with.
Yeah.
But it is down to the person. But, franchising is really much maligned, I think, you hear some of these people saying, franchising doesn't work. Have you seen so many successful people so quickly?
Yeah. Yes,
You know, I look at some of our franchisees, first couple of years, they may, as in every franchise, they may complain, oh, God,
Yeah.
this is hard,
Yeah.
not
Which
making
is,
enough
running
money.
business, yeah.
But after a few years, they really start to do well.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, they've got a really saleable asset.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had our first £1 million sale
Wow.
go through.
That
you
is
know,
unbelievable.
and we're relatively young in
Yeah.
franchising. We've got our second just about to go through.
Oh.
So, you know,
Amazing.
when people come in, they didn't expect that kind
Yeah,
of success.
yeah.
So, people who say franchising's not a
I mean,
success,
you know, and I think actually, often with a well-run system, you're going to pay more money for, you know, the multiples
support
on that.
and yeah.
Totally. So, if you don't mind me asking,
Yes.
what sort of multiples are you looking at within the home care sector?
Well, in the home care sector, they reckon the average multiple is 2.5 EBITDA.
Yeah.
We've been averaging between 3 and 3.5.
Okay. Wow. I mean,
So-
and that's really at the top end of it, actually, isn't it? I mean, I think that sort of within the whole thing, 4 is probably the most anyone would ever get, really. It's or at
Yes.
the moment. You know?
Yeah.
That's
But-
amazing.
But there's another way of looking at that. You know, if you have quite a few territories,
Yeah.
what you're doing is you're increasing what's that?
No. Nobody wants to be signing on that.
You're increasing your EBITDA, which is attractive.
Yeah.
But you're also taking the risk out the business, because if one of those territories doesn't work,
Yeah.
so if long term you've got 5 territories and
Yeah.
one territory isn't doing as well,
Yeah.
the other 4 cover it, so it gets
Yeah.
a much more attractive business,
Yes.
and then the multiples go up.
No, that's really, really interesting. And I think from the franchisee perspective, I think there's so much there.
Yes.
And it's very rich. So we're here at Hampstead Heath today, which is a 790-acre bit of land in the middle of London. And,
Right.
you know, we'll have to come back here in the summer and do some cold water swimming over here, but which is quite fun. I think you know they open this on every morning to do some swimming out there. So,
I'll let you do that.
well, you know, the videographer was saying to me, are you sure that, you know, you guys want to continue with the rain? And I said, look, you know, if there's anything this gentleman's got, it's buckets of resilience, as you've said, you know. As
You've got to. In business, you've got to.
Truly,
It's,
yeah.
You know, and then, you know, you asked me about moving to being a franchisor.
Yeah,
And, you know, that was important. Be careful there when you're stepping back behind you. As a franchisor, I had the benefit, as you did,
Yep.
of being a franchisee.
yeah,
So you can see how a franchisee thinks
Yeah,
and
yeah.
what is important to them.
yeah,
And, you know, that has really helped me. One of the key things I said to myself and say to my staff is do everything by the book.
yeah,
Be honest with people,
Yeah.
even if they don't like it. Tell
Yeah.
them the truth. I'll tell you what you can do is go to sleep at night,
Yeah.
never having to worry. And
That's
have
so
a good
true.
night's sleep.
yeah.
No one can knock on my door, anyone, HMRC
Yeah.
or anyone, because everything is done by the book.
And that's that integrity piece, I think, in business in general, you know.
Yeah.
Franchising and beyond, I think, you know, you're so right. If you put the integrity at the heart of it, which I know, you know, having spoken to Lucy, your CEO, I know that you have a really sort of robust vetting process with franchisees.
Oh, yes.
Which is so
It takes
important.
about 3 months to join us.
Wow. And what does that look like, the vetting process?
What does that look like? Well, I think you know Kate Dilworth.
Yeah.
Kate will do initial conversations with them, and she
Yeah.
might talk to them 2 or 3 times, get an idea whether they should come to national office
Yeah.
for a discovery day.
Yeah,
So that discovery day, that'll be about 3-4 hours where we talk about our business, and I sit in and all of that
Yeah.
because I give an introduction, and then I want to see how the individuals talk,
Yeah.
how the questions they do, how they interact with the staff. You know, are they polite with our staff?
yeah, Yeah.
Because all those things are important in life.
And soft skills, yeah.
All those soft skills. So we'll do that. If we think it's worth taking it forward and the potential franchisee thinks it's worth taking it forward, we then have our Discovery Day questions, which normally take about 3 hours.
Right. Okay.
Where we ask them some questions like an interview, a nice interview.
Yeah.
And really to let us understand are they right for our business and franchising, but also, crucially, let them understand is our business right for them.
Yeah. And that's so important, I think, isn't it? Because, you know, gone are the days where you've got a pulse and a checkbook. Great, thank you. Here's a franchise. You know, it's just not right franchise.
You haven't got a long-term sustainable business then, because you'll have problems with franchises.
Yes.
So after that, we insist that they talk to at least 3 of our franchise owners of their choice to get facts as a franchisee see about our support, how we look after them. So having done that, we'll then, review it. I'll be involved in the review with the potential franchisees. And if we feel together, potential franchisee thinks this is the right business for them, and we're the right franchisor, we'll ask them to do a qualification day where they present their business plan to us. And only at that stage would we accept the franchisee to take a deposit. So that process, it may take at least 2 months, but so important so the potential franchisee can make a decision, is this business right for them? Because, we want people coming into it who genuinely feel they have an affinity with care.
Yeah. And that's, unlike many other businesses, social care is very different. People's lives are here and sometimes the last days and all that. And actually, you only get one chance at a lot of that, don't you?
And, it's not an easy business, social care, but what business is that? I mean, a lot of my friends have their own businesses, and, they're saying they find it tough every day. If it was dead easy business, everyone would do it, wouldn't it?
And that's it. And I think it really comes back down to that resilience piece.
Yes.
When, you have to wake up in the morning, you have to get yourself out of bed, you have to go and make that first phone call, do that extra rep in the gym. It's the same, with going to work and running businesses, I think, often. And it's and that's really interesting. And one of the things I wanted to ask you was, what message would you want to get out to UK franchisors? What do you think is being done really well? What do you think that you'd like to see more of?
Can I, before we go on to that, can I just say, most people I know says who've been successful in business have took at least 10 years to get there.
Yeah.
Well, I believe in franchising. We can cut that at least in half.
Yeah, definitely.
Some people have been really successful within a year, but I'm not saying everyone will be. But
you can,
massive difference in the time scale to opening a new business. So that there's a lot of positives there. So what a franchisor, some of the tips early on.
What do you think, if you could go back to yourself, was it 2010 that you started?
Yeah.
So if you could go back to yourself now, in 2010, what would be the top 3 things that you'd say, look, do these things, and these were really useful and helpful?
Yeah, well, number 1, pick great franchisees to start with.
Yeah.
You need some really good people that really will showcase the brand and do it right. And, without mentioning them, but we have some early adopters who were absolutely fantastic, and they've been bearers for our brand.
Yeah.
Define what you want to be. We wanted not to be the fastest growing.
Yeah.
We didn't want to be the biggest.
Yeah.
but we wanted to be absolutely at the top for quality.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a lot of good brands in our sector,
Yeah.
and, you know, some great CEOs and businesses, but, you know, we're up there.
Yeah,
We are
totally.
right up
Yeah.
there, you know.
Well,
and
as you
on
said, you've won all
quality.
of the major awards, and truly,
and you know, so I guess they were the two things, and I guess the third one was, and I think I wasn't quite good enough at this one,
yeah,
was be firmer with your franchisees.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
early on, you can make the error of really being a bit relaxed on one or two things
Yeah.
because you haven't quite built up all
Yeah.
your systems and that, and then, you know, it's hard to pull back on that.
Yeah.
So I'd say from day one, be really firm on what
True
you
to your
want
model.
and
Yeah.
true to your model.
yeah,
But your model evolves over time.
True, yeah.
It's not going to
yeah.
be
No, of course, yeah. What,
right on day one.
And-
You're
and
going to
also-
improve every day.
That's it, and your tech stack changes, and all those sort of things that just keep helping the development, I suppose, right?
Yeah, well, any business, you know, be it Ineos, I don't know, Virgin.
Yeah.
What were they like when they started? You know, look where they are now.
Yeah.
You know, businesses develop, and sometimes when you talk to franchise owners, well, it was different when we started out. Well, of
Yeah.
course it's different when you start out. Every business,
Yeah,
and yes, you will get a little bit more defined in
Yeah.
what you do, structure, and, you know, everyone just talked to me at first.
Yeah.
I was our
Yeah,
support.
yeah,
You know, 'cause you have to be hands-on everything. Now I'm not, and
Sort of that journey from the kitchen table to the boardroom, right?
yeah.
So,
But then if they're good with their businesses,
yeah,
they
it's the
should
same.
be doing the same,
Yeah.
shouldn't they?
Yeah.
You know, but you know, for me, we've got a great industry, home care. It's
Yeah.
not going away.
No,
It's
no,
not-
no.
Yeah, some days it can be tough.
Yeah.
What industry isn't?
Yeah.
So, you know, for me, I think we talked about this. For me, I don't want it. All I want is a long-term
Yeah,
business. Probably pass
Yeah.
it on with the family and everything, because we've got a lovely business with lovely franchisees, and you know, it isn't work.
no, and that's it. So we were just saying this at lunch, weren't we? It's not work, and I think that's when you know you're onto something really special.
Yeah.
And I used to feel like that about running one location as well. That
Yes.
it didn't feel like work. I really enjoyed the banter in the office, and
Yes.
you know, it was all just fun. And you know, and if you can expand that out, that's really quite wonderful.
A key thing's building your team around
Yeah.
you, though. You know, I've got some wonderful people, not least Lucy Campbell, our CEO.
Yeah.
And, you know, and we got great relationship and trust, and you know, people below
Yeah.
Lucy, some fantastic people. But you have to build a good team around you to really make your life,
Yeah.
so you can do the things you
Yeah.
want.
Yeah, and you know, I suppose that actually brings me on to my next question, which is, was there a point that you think, well, actually, at this point here, things started to change? You know, whether that was a number of units or a key hire or a system change.
Yes.
You know, was there a key point? You thought, right, that was where the tipping point was.
The key tipping points, I think, at 10 offices, that's a sort of like
Yeah.
milestone,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
I know one office is a milestone, but 10 is, you think, oh, right, okay. But I guess I always said that I'd love it was a target for me at one time to stand up in front of our conference and address 50 franchisees.
Yeah, yeah,
I think when you get to 50, that's a nice number. I mean, target's way beyond that
Of
now.
course,
But
yeah.
you've got to set yourself realistic targets
Yeah.
and gradually do that. Rome wasn't built in a day, was
Of
it?
course,
You know,
yeah,
and 50 is a real
Yeah.
tipping point, and
Yeah.
you know, that's useful for profitability, because as a franchisor, it's a lot harder to make
Yeah.
money early on than
Yeah.
being a franchisee.
True. Yes, yeah. And would you say for the kind of emerging brands out there in the franchising space, that 50 is in terms of royalty sufficiency. Is that where the kind of number caps up for in your mind?
Yeah, well, I think you asked a bit more about the background. I've been lucky enough to be chair of the BFA, British Franchise Association, and support Pip Wilkins,
Yes.
who's the CEO at the European Franchise Federation.
Yeah.
So I'm out there next week. But
Wow.
you always see that as people talk about that 50 tipping point.
Yeah.
That is really a key number to get to,
Yeah.
you know, where you can sustain and hopefully make some reasonable profit
Yeah.
from that. Below that, it's
It's hard
quite
work.
tough. Yeah.
And what about for a franchisee in the home care space in terms of hours or revenue? What would you say in your mind? What we found that kind of tipping point is for them of that break even bit where you think, well, here we go.
Around 300 hours.
Yeah.
So a week, that tends to be a key tipping point. You must have found that.
About the same, yes, absolutely. I think that kind of 20 or 30,000 pounds in revenue per month,
Yes.
just means that you're able to then get a proper staff team around you and so on, as a franchisee, and yeah, it gives you some proper gross profit.
In our business, franchisees should be aiming for £1 million plus, because if I look at our network, those over 2 years old, we're averaging not far off £1 million an office.
Yeah.
Now that's mainly private care, by and large, but that should be a target for people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think and actually it's really interesting. When I was a home care franchisee, I think the kind of the golden number was 1 million, and I think the thinking has really changed now. I think the number's really doubled, or there's certainly 50% on that. Well, it's absolutely respectable.
Well, inflation.
Well, that's it. In old money, the £1 million business then is a £1.5 million business now.
Yes.
And also the requirement for private care has increased.
Yes.
And so you're quite sensibly up at £2 million without breaking too much of a sweat in.
Well, I don't know about breaking too much of a sweat, Amrit, because I tend to disagree
please.
there, because unless you've got a person who's got grit, determination, does the right things,
Good operator.
is organised,
Yes.
they won't get there.
Yeah.
And that is my message
Yeah.
to people. It is not just a gimme.
Yeah.
You have to work at it.
Yeah.
But if you work damn hard at it, you can do well. I mean, what other industry can pick? Not all, because you have some fantastic people with backgrounds, but by and large, most franchisees are mid-managers.
Yes. Yeah.
And, mid-managers, and then they become successful business owners.
Yeah.
Isn't that a great story? Isn't that,
feels magical in many
people
ways.
Talk
Yeah,
about it,
yeah,
but that is a fantastic story.
And it's so true, actually, when you put it that way. And I was out in the States at the IFA convention, as we were saying,
In Phoenix.
in Phoenix, and somebody said something out there, and it was about franchising being a model that makes an average franchisee a good business operator. And you think, well, actually, that's what you're doing. You're supplying systems for an average person, not a wonderful operator. I mean, of course, we want that, but your system needs to be robust enough for the average franchisee, right?
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They would be mid-managers or even junior managers,
Yeah.
and then become successful business people. With Right at Home, and I'm sure this is the same with other brands, because I get a good insight to other brands, is your learning never stops.
Yeah.
We are teaching our franchisees all the way through different things.
Yeah.
What's the latest stuff going on in home care, for example,
Yeah.
but that'll be the same in other sectors.
Yeah.
And I guess we all learn off each other too, don't we, in this sector? It's
Definitely.
a great camaraderie. competition, but we all get on very well.
Yeah, and actually, it's a really funny thing. I think for certainly the UK folk watching this are probably looking at you and me and thinking, hold on a second, what are they doing on the same screen? You know, two competitors in the same market. But you know, actually, I think you're so right. You know, the certainly the franchising space, but the home care space, people operate as colleagues. I mean, you've been a great mentor. You know, we've had wonderful conversations, you know, and you've given me some really wonderful pointers and tips and saying, well, okay, actually, have you thought about that? Have you done that? You know, and it's really great because actually so much of life is passing back, I think, isn't it? You know, but I think you do that kind of instinctively, which...
Well, I look at everyone and see, can I learn something from what they've said?
Yeah.
I'm a great podcast person.
Yeah.
Great. I'm not a great reader because I never get time to read. But I like to listen to the podcasts and, you know, Diary of a CEO, you name it. And you pick up so much from them. Years ago when I started business, you didn't have all that. You know, it was so much harder. All you learnt mainly from your mistakes or someone giving you a rollicking, you know. They were the good old days. But I always remember a big change for me was a guy called Michael Finnegan, and he was a mind coach. But this was, you know, 20 years ago. So, you know, mind coach is relatively new. And he talked about, you know, just basics like hanging around with the right people. Positivity, people who are positive, get anyone with a negative mindset out of your network of friends or business associates. And then, you know, he says also give it everything, because he could have been a professional footballer and didn't quite give it that. And it always looks back. And the other one that I loved, he says, you know, address me, how's your morning? And they go round the table, not bad. What's not bad mean? Are you good or bad? And I've never ever said not bad again. I've always said, yeah, I'm great. You know, little things, but it makes you think really positive. Just one little thing like that.
You're sort of messaging to your own subconscious at that point.
Oh, yeah.
So,
and that's a key thing, isn't it? I don't know about you. Every morning I wake up, I feel positive.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I feel, you know, I've got my list of things I'm going to do. I'm going to do them.
No, and that's absolutely it, isn't it? I think so much of life is how you feel mentally. And if you tell yourself you're feeling positive and you get out there and you start achieving some of those goals, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it?
Oh, and look at some of the great success stories when you hear, you know, they're just fantastic. People who have been, you know, living on the streets and made it really successful. Well, can you get any tougher than that?
I mean, that's it.
You know, it's just fantastic to hear those stories. Not everyone is as lucky, you know, you may have something, you might not be quite as bright. And I'm not saying everyone can be a success, because there may be, but, you know, by and large, we can all better ourselves. Can't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And Ken, on that, is there anything that you think, well, okay, I read or listened to this, and I think that, you know, that's one to share?
I've listened to so many things.
Or a specific podcast host, or you know, course that you've done, anything really that you think, well, actually, it's quite a useful thing for people.
I guess. I found Diary of the CEO quite good. Stephen Bartlett's a great marketeer of himself too, isn't he? Sorry, Stephen, but he is, isn't he? There's no one. But the one I love, but I guess you've got to be into sport to some extent, is the High Performance Podcast. You know, really, when you hear some of the messages that some of these guys give, and let's face it, sport is a massive industry. They're running businesses.
Huge businesses.
You know, even if you are, say, a single professional golfer at the top level, you have got a business there behind you.
Yeah.
You've got coaches, you've got advisors, and some of the pearls of wisdom out of that, I think, are just fantastic for running businesses.
No, that is great. Thank
Yeah.
you. And before we wrap up today, Ken, what is one actionable item that listeners can go away with and say, right, I'm going to do this, and that will take me on my route to success?
I guess looking, what I think is looking at what are the key drivers that make your business a success. So in home care, as a franchise owner, what are they?
Yeah.
One, networking.
Yeah.
Getting out there. You should know you're the best networker there is.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm behind a desk the whole time.
Networking,
Yes.
recruitment,
Yeah.
quality,
Yes.
and building a team around you.
Yeah.
Now, networking is the one that a lot of franchise owners fail at because they just don't want to do it. They say they'll do it when you're doing all the interviews, and then they won't.
Yeah.
But you've got to do the things you're uncomfortable to run a business. I remember at McDonald's, I used to be out, leafleting, talking to all the local business owners and everything, just to try and push the thing.
Yeah.
And like today,
Yes. Yeah.
we're out today, aren't we, in the rain?
Yeah.
You've just got to do the things that will drive your business, not sitting behind a desk doing the accounts.
Yes.
I'm an accountant, and I've never done my books in any business.
I mean, and that is very smart, isn't it? Because as soon as you're in it, you're just stuck in the weeds the whole time. So
Well, doing my books isn't going to make my business great,
no,
is it?
yeah.
And,
No,
I can
great.
pay someone to do that.
Yeah, no, great. Well, thank you so much, Ken, and I really appreciate you coming on today and sharing all of your pearls of wisdom. But
No,
thank you,
Ambrit. It's been a real honour you asking me. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And,
Thank you.
And thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Walking with Wolfinch. Until next time.
Thank you.